Hello, welcome to this presentation, and today we are going to create a multi-span steel truss using a truss component from Tekla structures library. Let's get started. If you take a look on the screen here, you can see we have our grid in place, and if I double click on the grid line here, you'll be able to see the properties or the dimensions or the details of this grid line on my right here. So if I come close to coordinates, this defines the lengths and the heights and the various heights of the eave column, and this one defines the span, and this one defines the base of the columns. Now we want to start placing our columns right away, so I'll click on empty screen to deactivate or to deselect the grid line. So let me first of all close that, and I'll come to steel here and pick on steel column right there, and we're going to place the column right there. So to check the column properties and the height, the total, all the column properties, just double click on the column itself, and you'll come on your left or on your right hand here. This is Tekla Structures 2020, and if you're using Tekla Structure 2017, the placement of this dialog box might be different, but the contents are much the same. So if you come here under general, you'll be able to see it is a column, and the profile catalog defines it as that, and material is that. You can change the material if you wish by clicking on that and change the material from this dialog box. You can close that, and if you don't want this color, you can change the class here and pick a different one, and numbering comes by numbering. This a default prefix for numbering and assembly numbering. Briefly is all about that. Now let's go ahead and copy this column. Let's copy that and jump that line and place another column there, and we'll place another column right here. As I told you, it is a multi-span truss. Now I'll close this for the time being. We'll come back to it later on when we need it. And now I'm going to bring in my truss. So I'll come here under applications and applications and component. This is where we get all the macros and all the tools and all the components we need to detail our model. Now in here I'll just type truss, because we have a component called truss here. So in here I'm going to pick on this particular truss. So I'll pick on this one here. So the moment I pick on it, I'll snap on a particular point here. Maybe on that spot, and stretch all the way to the other end. Stretch all the way to this far end, and I can terminate it here. I'll give it some time to load everything. So if you take a look here, we can see we have our truss in place. So if I click on the screen and click redraw or interrupt, I'll be able to terminate that command. So if I right click and redraw and come all the way to this far end, I'll be able to see that we have our truss in place. So if I refresh, I'll be able to get other components that were missing. So let me just check on this far end, and I'll be able to see we have this one in place. So let me first of all select on it, and I want to position this truss accurately. So I'll come to edit and come to points, and I want to define the midpoint of this section here. So I'll click OK. So I'll select on this, right click and come to move, and I want to shift it slightly to match that far end, to match that center of that column. So I'll just give it some time to move all the components to that position. So I'll zoom out and go the other end and try and check whether this also sits well at this far end. It's okay at this far end. So what we can do, we can just right click and refresh that, and we can also just try to position this properly. Maybe we can snap on that spot and snap on that spot. Let me just define a midpoint of this. Midpoint right there. I got a midpoint right there, and I want to just to pull this away to provide space for our structure right here. Now this is how it looks. So we have a truss in place. Now let me just minimize that. We'll come back to it later on. So if I come to navigate here and try to rotate this is a truss we have. So if I double click on the screen here and change this to 90 and change this to 0, and if I click on that, I'll be able to see a clean elevation or an accurate elevation of this particular truss. So if I come at the far end here, I'll be able to see that. If I come this side, I'll be able to see that it's a neat truss. We have a connection at that end, we have a connection this far end, and we have the tie beams here. We have one here, we have one here. So let me just switch back to my isometric view, and I'll try and rotate this. So once we have this, I'll come here and select it. I'll select on it once again and right click and come to copy. Since we need a multi-span truss, I'll snap on that spot and move all the way to this far end here, now to finalize and give it a definition of a multi-span instead of a single span. So we'll just give it some time to copy. So we have this truss this far end. If I right click and come to move, I'll have this span this far end. So this is how it looks, and this how it looks at this end, and we'll try to just to shift it slightly to enable this plate flash properly. Though we'll have to readjust the grid line so that it matches the centers of these columns. So I'll select on it, and once I've selected on this column here, I'll come to move here and try and match the centers of that plate with the column. So if I turn it like that, I'll be able to see the actually matching. So to make sure that matches properly, make sure you define the center of that and try check the centers if both centers are matching. So I'll define that, and slightly one is off the position. So I'll select on this, right click and come to move, and I want to shift this center to this center, so we'll have this sitting accurately. So I'll come here and try rotate this, and you'll be able to see that we have this in the right position. So let me just turn this once again round, and you can be able to check. And there is a slight shift at the bottom end here, which can be rectified by adjusting some measurements on the grid measurements. So this is what we have. So what I'm going to do right here is bolting this truss to our main column. So how do we place the boltings? We'll come to edit, and we'll come to point, and we'll try to place the points that will guide us in placing the bolts. So I'll come to at any position here and try to snap at the bottom end here and snap right here. So the moment I've placed a point here, I'll continue adding another point by using this as a datum to place other points. So I'll select on this once again and hold this point from this position and take it the other end. So I'll come back again and define the center of these two bolts. I'll get a center there. So I'll pick this bolt, I'll pick this point by selecting on it and hold it using this position, and I'll apply and give it an OK. So the next position we are going to place these bolts, I'm going to snap on that spot. Let me just, the moment you hear that bell means something's not right. So we'll come back again and redraw it. We'll come to that spot and come all the way to that end, and we place another one here. So we need another point from that spot, another one to this spot, and copy this one from there using this handle here and place it right there. So we are going to copy this. Once again, press Ctrl and select on this, right click and come to copy, and we'll copy this and place it somewhere there. So we have some bolts here, we have some points here. So we just need these points, the 4 points. We don't need these ones. These ones, we are just using them to guide us in placing the other points that will be required for bolt placement. So I'll come to steel here and pick on the bolt here, and the moment I pick on the bolt, what I'm going to do, I'll pick the components I'm going to bolt together. So I'll pick the main part, which will be this one, then select the bolt. The part to be bolted is this one. So I'll press my space bar, then define the points where I want to place the bolts. I'll click on that spot. So you can see our bolt is in place, but is not properly in the position we required it to be on. So to correct this, just double click on the bolt here. So the moment you double click on the bolt, will bring this dialog box here. Inside this dialog box, this is the place you'll be able to rectify or feed in the changes that you need to make this bolt sit properly, or be able to connect this plate and the column. So in here, to make the changes here, first of all, we come at the bottom end here where position is. So we'll play around with the rotation option. We'll come to that spot and click back and try to check how will it respond to that position. We'll try below here and try that. You'll be able to see it is actually in the best position, but not the best. Click front, and that one will behave like that, and back it behaves like that. So we'll just work with front. We'll just work with front, and we'll click OK. Below, that's okay. So we'll double click on it once again. So the moment you double click on it, we'll come to x axis here and feed 50. We'll come on x axis, just scroll down, we'll come on x axis and feed 50, because center to center here is 50. We can measure that accurately. You can snap on that spot and snap on that spot. You can see at the bottom end here is 50. So we can feed the same 50 here. We feed the 50 here and click OK. Click modify, and you'll be able to see we have 50 there. So we can change even the bolt size. So what I'm going to do, just to select on these two and double click on it, scroll up, and you can change this to M20 or a different size. We can use M16 right there. M16, we can select on both, select on that, snap on that spot, and place another bolt there. So we'll select these 4 bolts here. We'll select these 4 bolts, and we want to place them on the opposite direction. So how do we hold them together? We'll select all, set right click and come to copy, and we want to snap at the bottom end here, and we'll move all the way to this far end here and snap right there. So we'll have a bolt right, all the 4 bolts already placed. So we'll do the same by selecting on that, press Ctrl, select on that, right click and press Ctrl and select, then come to copy once again, and we want to copy this from this far end, and prior to copying it, make sure the point you are picking the bolts from, the point you are picking the bolt from this far end should match the same point, should be the same point we are trying to transfer the bolts. Now we are moving the bolts from this end, or we are copying the bolts from this position similar to this position here, because these plates are almost identical. So we've left some components, some bolts, so we'll just select on that, right click and come to this far end or this point. We'll snap on that spot and come back and copy them on the same spot. Right click and interrupt to terminate that command. So we'll do the same thing at the other end. So prior to doing that, we'll come here and try and place some stiffeners. So I'll come to plates here and pick on the plate. So I want to create a plate here using polygon. So I'll snap on that spot and snap on that spot and move all the way to that spot and connect my plate right there. So I'll double click on this plate to shift it down slightly. So to shift it down, I'll come to position here and pick behind and click OK. So I'll pick this one, right click and come to copy, and I'll pick it from this position and transfer it right there. So I'll select these two by pressing Ctrl, then right click and come to copy, and I want to copy these two using this guideline and snap them at the bottom end here. So if I come to view here and rotate this, I'll be able to see that we have these in place. We've placed those stiffeners at the bottom end right there. So we'll do the same thing by pressing Ctrl, then hold Ctrl and select on that, so that we copy everything one go. So I'll right click once again, right click and come to this position here and pick it from that spot and transfer them here, or make a copy right on the same position. So if I come to navigate here and rotate this, I'll be able to see that we've placed these plates accurately. So we want to copy them all the way, and these plates must be welded to the column. To make sure we weld everything, just come on this far end and just type weld. Just type weld, and we'll use this stanchion weld. So we want to weld this to that, and you want to weld this to this, and this one must be welded to that, and this one also we want to weld that to that, and that one to that. So on this opposite direction, just turn your column or your model and weld all this together. So I'll come to navigate and rotate this, right click and redraw to remove everything here. So what I'm going to do, once again, I'm going to select everything. I'm going to select this, press Ctrl, select on that, select on this and that, then come to navigate and rotate this. Press Ctrl, select on this, that and this, and we want to copy all these components to other columns. I'll right click and come to copy, and I want to copy them from that position and move all the way to similar position here, and I'll place them there, and I'll move all the way to this far end here, and I'll place these stiffeners right there. So I'm going to pick these bolts the way they are. I'm going to select on it, press Ctrl, select on this, right click and navigate, and I want to select these bolts here, select on that and that, and that, and we want to copy these bolts once again the way we just did with the stiffeners. I'll pick them from that position and move all the way to this far end here, and I'm going to place these bolts right here. So the position, or if you take a look, they're not sitting correctly. So what we are going to do, we are going to place them manually as we did with previously. So I'll right click and undo that, right click and redraw. So we are going to select on this once again, select on that, right click and come to special copy, and select on this, select on that, and select that and that, select all these bolts, and I'm coming to copy here, and I'll just hold them from this far end, from the midpoint here, and move all the way to the far end, and place another one here. So I'll go all the way and place these ones here. So I want to show you a different way on how you can handle this perfectly well. You can come to view here and pick on the Workplane tool and change your Workplane tool somewhere there. You can place it somewhere here. You can place it somewhere there. So the moment you place them somewhere there, what you are going to do, just select on this, right click and come to special copy, then come to mirror. Then we want to use this midpoint as our mirror line to mirror those bolts to a similar position, but on the opposite direction. So I'll use this point as my mirror line, snap on that spot and click copy, right click and come to interrupt to terminate that copy command. So if we zoom out, we'll be able to see that we have these bolts already in place, accurately bolted. So that's a different way on how you can quickly transfer those bolts to the opposite position. So we'll do the same here by bringing these bolts on the opposite end, we go ahead and select everything, press Control and try rotate this. So holding your Control button on the keyboard and select all these bolts like this. Then right click and come to Special Copy, pick on Mirror option, and what we are going to do, we want to mirror all those bolts from this mirror point or mirror line. We'll take the mirror line at the apex here. So we'll try and define that point as our mirror line. Right click and click Copy. So if you zoom out, if you move all the way to this far end, we'll be able to see that we have the bolts in positions properly bolted. So what we are going to do, we are going to maybe place the base plates here. So to place the base plates shouldn't be a very big thing to do. Just press base plate or type base plate, and we can pick the simplest. So just click on the column and snap at the bottom end right there. So we'll not go into details on detailing all this. Just select, and we want to place that, and we can place it at the bottom end there, and click this column, and we can place a base plate right there. Right click to terminate that base plate command. Right click once again and click interrupt to terminate that command. Then right click again to redraw. Redraw will refresh everything. So once we are done with the mirror, we can bring back our XYZ plane to a default or to a world position. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select everything here, and using my XYZ here, I'm going to populate this along the y-axis. So prior to doing that, we have to count how many columns and how many trusses do we need. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we need 10 because we already have one. I'll right click and come to Special Copy here and click Linear. So the moment I click on Linear, I'll feed in the number, the spans or the base or center to center of the columns here along the y-axis here. So the span or the base is 6 meter, and we need 10 of this. So the moment I've done that, I'll just go ahead and click Copy and give it some time to process the same information. And here we are, and we can go ahead and click OK. Then the moment we right click and terminate that copy command, we'll right click once again and redraw. So the moment we redraw, we'll have our multi-span trusses already in place. So we can see this, and we can minimize these ones, and if I bring this close, you can be able to see that we have all these trusses already in place, and we have our trusses neatly done. So whatever is remaining is just the purlins, the bracings, or these ones here, or the tie beams. So the tie beams can be placed accurately. So what we are going to do, just disable the assembly first, and first of all try and check the centers. We'll check the centers of these members. So I'll come to Edit here, pick Online, and I'll define the midpoint here, and I'll get the midpoint right there. I'll click OK. So I'll come on the opposite direction here and try to get the midpoint of this stab, or a stab for our tie beam. I'll come to Edit and come to Points here and snap on this spot and move all the way to this far end. So I wanted just the midpoint here. So I'll double click on this member. So the moment I double click on this member, because I want to use the same component, so I'll try to copy this, copy that. So if I come to steel, I'll pick on the column and on the beam and snap on that spot and stretch all the way to this far end, and I'll snap right here. So the moment I snap here, I'll right click and try to turn this round, The reason why I was copying that is because I was expecting that the beam will default on my previous beam that I used, but luckily it hasn't defaulted on that. So I want to double click on this to position itself and this one with this one. So what I'm going to do here, I'll play around with these positions here. So I'll come to front and click OK. It's not the best way. We'll come to middle and click middle right there. So you'll be able to see it is the right position. So what we are going to do, we are going to shift our XYZ plane. So I'll come to W here and pick on the Y plane, on Workplane tool, and place my Workplane tool here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all these components here, gusset plates and these end plates here, and I want to mirror them on the opposite direction. So to do that, just press Ctrl and make sure you select everything. So press Ctrl, and we want to select the bottom end here and come to navigate once again, and we want to rotate this like this. So I'll right click once again, come to spatial copy and mirror this. So define a mirror line from this spot all that way and click copy. So we'll have our component already in place. So what we are going to do on the far end here, on the opposite direction, we'll just copy one of these. So we want to place the bolts here. So to place the bolts is very simple. What we are going to do, we'll come to navigate here. We'll come to navigate and turn that round slightly, and we want to get the centers here. So I'll come to edit, come to points here, click on online, and we want to get a point right there. So once you identify a point there, we'll try and get another midpoint from this point to that point, and that will be okay. So we will transfer this point. We'll transfer this point here, right click and pick it from that spot and maybe place it right there. So we'll transfer this once again, and by coming to point and snap on that spot and place another point there and place another point right there. Click OK. So here once again we are going to place we want to do another marking here. Click OK, and we'll come to point here, and we want to get a point right there and a point right here. Perfect. So what we are going to do, once again, I'll select this on these 2 points, right click and come to copy, and we'll copy these points and place them somewhere there. So I will come back to steel and come to bolts, and we'll select on this, press Control, don't select Control, select another component, then press a middle button on the mouse and define where you want to place your bolts. So we have the bolts in place, but one is not in the right position. Let's try and check the measurements in between the bolts. I'll snap on this point and snap on that point, and you can see it's 95. So I'll double click on this bolt and come here and feed 95 instead of 50. So when you click OK, you'll be able to see that this bolt moves perfectly to its position. So if I click on this, right click and come to copy, I'll snap on this spot and bring these bolts to a similar position but on opposite direction. I'll come to view and try to rotate this, and you can see we have our bolts in place, snapping perfectly well. So you can see that how it's done. So these ones have been bolted. So we want to transfer this component in the opposite direction. So what we do and how do we do it? We'll just select on this component. We'll just press Control, select on this component, right click, and select on the opposite. Right click and try rotate this so that you'll be able to see the bottom end. Select, carry even the bolts with you, and select on that and try rotate so that when you try to walk away, you'll be able to carry everything. Right click and come to copy, and the moment you snap here, we'll snap on that spot. So we'll move all the way to this far end, and we'll try to we'll try to turn this round so that we make sure we snap on accurate position. So if we snap here, you'll be able to see we have this in place. So we have this one bolted, this far end, but if you take a look here, this plate is not welded to this plate. I'll pick on that spot and type weld here, and if I pick on weld, I'll be able to weld this plate to this member. So I'll right click and come to redraw, and you'll be able to see that we have our first tie beam in place. So this is how it's done, and we can go ahead and now just press Alt, and if you press Alt, you'll be able to select everything. So if you don't select everything, make sure your assembly button is active. So if you press Alt, you'll be able to see everything is getting selected. So we'll try copy them from this end. You snap from that on that spot and move on the opposite direction on a similar position, and we try if you can move together with the bolts. So you can see the bolts are moving, but the stiffeners have been left out, meaning they have not been welded together to this tie beam. So we can leave it at that spot, and I think you've seen whatever I've done, and it's better you try it yourself and try to create a similar thing. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and prior to exiting, let me try and turn this round so that you see how it looks. This is how it looks, and if I change the view and if I change the view by double clicking on the screen and try to come to perspective and click modify, and if I try to navigate here, you'll be able to see how these trusses looks. You can see that, and this is how they look, and that's how you can do it using a component created in Tekla structure. So this is how it's done, and this is how a truss looks. And if you're interested in this particular truss, it will be uploaded on CivilMax, and you'll be able to download it by some small coins. Now I'll come to navigate and try to turn that round, and you can see the joints there, though you can still work on the joints or connection of truss to column. So this is how it looks. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel and enabling your notification bell, so that whenever I drop a video, you'll be able to be notified, to get a notification, and you'll be able to watch it and see what's new in our channel. Thanks a lot, and bye bye, and stay safe. Thank you.